Let's go to the Free State, where former President Thabo Mbeki is visiting the ANC's leaders in that province. Let's go there now.
You spoke. Because in a sense, for those of us who came here and the convener said we would be the mirror to reflect so that you yourselves coming from the province can look at yourselves in that mirror. I'm saying as that mirror then, very, very glad indeed that people came and spoke. Because in a sense, for us, it's a bit of a voyage of discovery. To be exposed to the challenges that face the ANC in the province. I'm saying because we don't stay here, not daily engaged with the province, and therefore to learn to hear from everybody is for us very, very important to understand the reality of the province, so that we're then better able, if we are asked to give any advice, that advice is based on the concrete reality that pertains in the province. But thanks for coming, and thanks for raising all of the questions that you've raised. As has been indicated, we had our first meeting on Thursday evening. We arrived from Johannesburg Thursday afternoon, and in the evening we had a long session with the IPC. And then we sat with the IPC extended the whole day yesterday, Friday, and the whole morning today. So it's been quite a substantial bit of time that we spent largely listening. And I really must say that all of us, in fact, there are 5 of us in our delegation. All of us, as we've been discussing after the various sessions, I've been very, very, very pleased, comrades, with the manner in which you have handled these 3 days. Because our sense was that you were speaking honestly and frankly, even about admitting the problems. And as the convener has just said, even pointing fingers at oneself, not pretending that, no, the problem was other people, me, I'm clean. No. This was very, very good indeed. And unfortunately, we have not distributed the declaration to everybody. I must also say, Comrade Convener, that even the copy I have, I stole it from the coordinator. I'm saying that because it would have been very good if we had the time to have distributed the declaration to all of the comrades, all of the people who have come to join us here, invited civil society and everybody to have a look at it. Because I think it's an important document. I'm not saying that the problem issues that have been raised about time frames with regard to the document specificity and so on that are irrelevant. But I think it represents, given where this province comes from what we've been told, this is a good start. I think it's a good start, it's a very, very important start. The matters that have been raised about time frames and all need to be addressed. in a sense, to some extent, it's brave. The movement still harbors within its ranks agents of counter-revolution. That means this provincial leadership that we're meeting says, we've got a task to deal with this problem. The admission of the problem means a commitment to do something about it. And that's a very important statement. And indeed, it might very well be that what the province does on this matter would help the ANC nationally. Because this phenomenon that is discussed, is raised here in this declaration, is not an exclusively Free State phenomenon. It's national. Branches are weak at best and dysfunctional, and at worst non-existent. We remain deeply divided, weak, paralyzed by factions, cannot resolve internal problems. Those were very honest statements in the declaration, which I'm saying, given where it seems to me we come from in terms of what we've heard, these are important statements. It's very, very important that the statements were made. Because the making of the statements constitutes a commitment to do something to correct these things which are wrong. So really, I want to say thanks a lot, and I hope, Comrade Convener, by the time we disperse, people can have a copy of this declaration. All of us, I think, are perfectly conscious of the fact that the country, as a country, we face many, many challenges. Economic challenges, social challenges. We were with my migrant comrades, illegal migrants that we came to the Free State, these ones. We're just talking now during lunchtime about an element of the latest crime statistics that were announced by the police minister yesterday or something. And he says, I'm quoting, I'm just citing this as one of these challenges in the country. That for the last quarter, 2021, that's from October to December, I'm going to put this, round off these figures into the hundreds. It says 6,859 people were murdered. I was saying I'm going to round them up. That means, more or less, 7,000 people were murdered in the country in the last quarter. Of whom 1,000 were women. So there's a commitment made in the declaration, correctly, on the matter of gender-based violence. And this figure demonstrates the correctness of that commitment. 1,000 women murdered in the 3 months between October and December. There's something very rotten in this society which produces an outcome of that kind. And that rot is demonstrated by this other figure, 1,000 women killed in 3 months, murdered. But 6,000 others were murdered in the same period. If you look at the statistics on mortality and cause of death and all that, you would find that the biggest killer, the biggest cause of death among the youth, let us say the generation might be 15 to 30, 35, the biggest cause of death by 60% or more is unnatural causes. Young people are dying from these things, murder, road accidents, and all of that. Unnatural causes of death among the youth, including these 1,000 women. What do we do about that? We talk very, very correctly and very strongly, as we must, about this matter about gender-based violence. We need to do more about that question. Really, to really make sure this thing is, the fact that we make militant statements is not a solution to the problem. Militant statements must be made, but they must produce a result. So that we must see this figure we're going down, down, down. But it will not go down if the ANC does not sort itself out. For the simple reason that the ANC is by far the biggest political formation in the country. So if it doesn't sort itself out, the ANC, this problem won't be solved. So that is why it's important that we here in the Free State should meet as we have met. There's something, Comrade Convener, you will pardon me for saying this. There's something that was raised during the discussions, which I supported, which was that there was an earlier decision of the IPC to have a retreat. A retreat, I don't know of how many days, it was not said. But a retreat is when you go and you say, we've got these 3, 4, 5 agenda items, and we're going to sit for 5 days and go through these things. There was an agreement that there would be a retreat. I'm saying that, you pardon me, because I didn't hear it stated in the declaration. I hope you didn't reject that, because I think the original decision was correct. So that indeed we can then go deeper into these problems, including these issues that have been raised. In December, I sent out a message to a number of comrades, senior comrades, to say to them, you know what's going to happen this year, 2022, one of the things is that there are people who are going to make a very strong proposal aimed at the ANC, which will be that one of the most important things for the ANC during the year 2022 is going to be the question of who is going to be elected president and the others in December at the 55th National Conference. As it's inevitable that somebody is going to suggest that. And I was saying we should not fall into that trap. It's a trap. Because I heard one of the colleagues saying that he went to a meeting in Machabeng or somewhere, And people were saying second term for Comrade Ramaphosa, provincial chairpersonship from Kolisi to one. I was saying that that's a trap. The reason it's a trap is because if we take that route, then we will be preoccupied with this question: who is supporting me, and canvas and go and do this, and completely forget about this urgent national task. Preoccupied with this question: I want to be a leader. Time consuming, absorbing all your energies. In the meantime, we're talking about all these important national challenges. Well, I'm not sure that people were listening to what I was saying, because you still hear these voices. Even at the January 8th rally in Limpopo, somebody stands up in a meeting and says, "Long live second term for Sri Ramaphosa." What is that? So, but I'm saying, comrades, you see these major national tasks. I cited this matter about murder, to say that those problems, South Africa cannot solve these problems without the active involvement and conscious involvement of the ANC because of its size. And so the ANC owes it to the nation to behave itself. The ordinary masses of the people, they are not interested who is president of the ANC. But they are interested in an ANC which takes care of the matter of service delivery. It takes care of that road in Mangaung, which is a road of potholes. So we can't have a leadership of the ANC which allows itself to be misled. We're in February. Why should people be campaigning for positions in February instead of attending to the matters that are important for the nation? So I'm saying that I'm very, very glad indeed that these comrades, the leadership in the province, have given themselves these tasks, which are not about who becomes a leader, but about what do we do about these problems we've identified. And I must say, with regard to our colleague who talked about business, and of course the farmers, I think it was also very important that the meeting took a decision of this Lekotla, whatever it's called, social compact, the provincial social compact, and said specifically that the people in the farming we are going to invite them into the meeting, the people in mining, we're going to invite them into the meeting, and so on. So that indeed, I think even the program that is made, even about professionals, let's all sit together and say, what is it we can do in the Free State about the recovery of this economy, job creation, and all of these things. And that includes these infrastructure challenges and the use of our professionals. That was an important decision indeed. I'm very glad that, and we made the commitment, it's in the declaration. These questions that are raised legitimately, cult of personality, the habit of telling lies, and this clear abuse of COSAS. ANC cannot say to COSAS, we will give you support provided you tell us which faction you belong to. It's obviously wrong. Clearly, all of us, I'm sure, as ANC, have got a responsibility to make sure that we actually have a good, strong, cohesive COSAS, because it's representing an important layer of the youth of our country. I'm saying all of these things are part of the process of the renewal of the ANC. it's not just our colleague who talked about the causes. It's not just our having said, look, we've got these bad people in our ranks, and surely, obviously, we must do something about it. It's not only that, but it's the renewal. It's about other matters as well. What shall we do in order to make sure we stop the murder of our youth, the murder of our women, and really produce a real and realistic program? Somebody talked about that. A realistic program, something not just it's good in words, but not practicable. That's a part of the process of renewal. And surely the ANC must be against this cult of personality. There's absolutely no reason why the ANC should allow itself to be worshipping some particular person. And so all of us become kind of appendages of this person because the person is heroic or whatever. It's clearly wrong. It's a distortion of how the movement should work. Even this habit of telling lies is very, very directly related to the quality of our membership. As the quality of our membership has declined over the years, these problems pop up. Of people seeking to achieve particular objectives by telling lies. I'm saying in the process of renewal, it becomes possible, it's inevitable that you deal with challenges of this kind. And as a movement, we deliberately took a decision that there are many people in our country who respect traditional leaders. So the traditional leaders are leaders of our people. And so when you're talking about this country being led, you can't exclude the traditional leaders. So the point has been raised that some of us, including the councillors, are not taking them seriously. Something clearly that must be corrected. I'm sure that as we discuss in that retreat, matters of this kind, we want to deal with them because in the sense, if we want to rebuild and develop the province, we want everybody on board, and indeed the people who are traditional leaders would have to be part of that. As I've said, I am quite sure that the leadership have heard what was said by a colleague in COSAS. We can't deal with COSAS like that. Take it for granted, demand that it must be allied to one faction or another. Our task is to help to build COSAS so that indeed it is truly representative of this generation of our youth. And that obviously the rebuilding of the ANC here, the renewal, rebuilding and all of that, would have to deal with the questions that people have raised. Like there's a long period of the marginalization of members and cadres of the movement. Clearly those are matters would have to be dealt with. The point was made about the enemy putting money into the ANC, buying off people so that which results in division and so on. Well, I don't know the facts about that. But obviously, I mean, when we're talking about here in the declaration, talking about these enemy agents that we were never able to root out, who are still there. And that particular part of the document says, these the enemy agents of counter-revolution, have increased their negative interventions, more active. And maybe they are the same people who are bringing this money that our colleague was talking about, which is helping to destroy movement. I'm saying that in dealing with those sorts of questions, obviously matters of this kind would have to be dealt with. The phenomenon of the marginalization of experienced cadres of the movement is a national problem. It's happened during a certain period in the evolution of the movement. It's part of what went wrong. When you take some of your most experienced people, tried and tested members of the ANC, and suddenly you decide that they are not wanted, they are irrelevant, it's bound to produce negative results. I'm sure as we work to rebuild the ANC, renew, rebuild, and so on the ANC in this province, as I was saying, I'm quite sure that we would want to take care of that. We discussed, the matter was raised during our discussions there, the issue about patriarchy. It was raised, and it's similar comments made about the need to make sure that women get into these positions of responsibility, to respect even the decisions of the movement. We talked about 50-50 in terms of leadership. That commitments that have been made, like this 40% that was referred to in terms of business, that those things must be done, including training and empowerment of women to be able to attend to this. These are some of the projects, programs, some of the programs that would be part of what the leadership here says it must do. As I was saying, that even the matters raised by a colleague from NAFCOC about business, it have to be part of that process of that social compacting. What do we do so that business itself must be there with our leadership, and together we sit and discuss this question as to what to do, including these matters about the township economy. There was a comment made about what Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa said or didn't say, including issue of jobs, was mentioned. The ANC local government manifesto includes a commitment. That commitment says we as the ANC must ensure that the social partners are convened as a matter of urgency, so that we can together discuss the question about jobs and inequality, poverty, and all of that. And that statement was repeated in the January 8th statement. As a consequence of all of that, indeed, the social partners are meeting. The presidency convened them. So currently, as we are talking, business, labor, government, civil society, they are meeting to look at that matter. Job creation. What do we do together about this economy? And Comrade President Ramaphosa said, you remember in the State of the Nation address, that the social partners have agreed that they will have the outcome in 100 days. This is very good, very ambitious. A program that must address these challenges of poverty, unemployment, inequality. There was among the social partners, they started these discussions of theirs in 2020, partly pushed by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they started talking and saying, look, we must act together to address these national challenges. And in that context, the business sector produced a proposal. I'm sure all of us know this, what to do about this economic recovery. And they presented a plan of action, very detailed plan of action, and promised and undertook that within that plan of action, business would invest over a period of 3 years R1 trillion. When I saw that, I really jumped for joy, because we've had this challenge in this country for a long time, of many people in business being reluctant to invest in this economy. Our colleague talked here about this province chasing away investors because of the way they are treated and the reception that they got in the Western Cape as business people. But there's been a problem here for many years, that many business people were not sure about the future of the country, saying to themselves that, we must never forget that this is an African country. And the African experience is that sooner or later, at some point, things will go wrong. If I have to leave, if there's a factory that I've built, you can't take the factory and put it in your pocket. So it's better to remain liquid, because if I've got to run, at least I can take this money. So when business says, let's have a program for 3 years and we'll invest R1 trillion, I was very, very glad about that. And that's critically important, therefore, to have that social compact. So it's within that social compact, you then design the plans, then programs, so that then business can make that kind of investment. The state doesn't have that kind of money. The government can't produce R1 trillion for 3 years. So it's important that we must act in partnership. The government will produce what it has to produce, what it can. Private sector must produce what it can. And together, let's say these are the tasks that we've set ourselves, these are the objectives. So I'm saying that social compact is important. So whatever it is that Comrade President Ramaphosa said in the State of the Nation, he made a very correct commitment that we must get together to address this matter seriously, and they've acted on it. It was not an empty promise. They've acted on it. So hopefully it will work. I'm sure that we can then, we follow that example in the province. I think it would help us a great deal. So the point that is made about environmental questions is obviously correct. And indeed the colleague said the ANC itself, not just leave it to government, ANC itself must engage this provincial, because we are the governing party. I agree that, the more understanding as a governing party we have about those environmental questions, the better. So in order to guide, to be able to guide, to be able to guide government. Yeah. As I was saying, I really do hope that as we're talking here, we're about to conclude all of this, somebody is printing out copies of the declaration, so that as all of us leave, at least we carry this with us. In the end, colleagues, we've got a country in crisis. It's in crisis in many respects. the economy is in deep trouble and has been in deep trouble for many years. That's why you see these continuously increasing numbers of the unemployed. It's in crisis. If you look at the state, the condition of the state-owned enterprises, which are very vital for the functioning of this country, not only just the economy. The state is the biggest producer of electricity. And if we don't produce the electricity, democratic South Africa dies. The Transnet, ports and harbors and railway lines and so on, very critically important. Problems. And these are some of the challenges we face, which we've got to do something about. This phenomenon, which is really bad, of lawlessness, of disrespect for the law, you see it everywhere. Yeah. And people seem to think that I've got the power to do as I like anything. The levels of lawlessness in the country are too high. Part of the result are these matters that we're talking about. And to be honest among ourselves, to ourselves, comrades, also quality of leadership, quality of political leadership. In the country, so that I sometimes say, I'm part of that leadership. Do we actually have the capacity to lead the country to respond to these challenges? I think it's one of the serious challenges we face as a country. But we can't run away from here. There is nowhere to go. We can't emigrate. So we are here, therefore we've got to solve these problems. And to come back to what I was saying earlier, those problems can't be solved without the ANC because of its size. A few months ago, I said there was a big financial crisis, as you remember, in the United States, 2007, 2008, started by the big banks. And the American leadership said, these banks are too big to fail. What they meant by that was that if these banks, because of their size, if they failed, the whole economy of the United States would collapse. Therefore, too big to fail, so that they need to be rescued. So I said, I can say here that the ANC is too big to fail. Meaning the same thing. If the ANC collapsed today, cease to exist, this country will become ungovernable. Simply because of the influence of the ANC. 3 provincial governments are ANC, national government is ANC. Even if you forget about municipalities, if the ANC collapsed and ceased to exist tomorrow, the country would become ungovernable. It's too big to fail. And therefore, that's why I'm saying, comrades, the ANC owes it to the nation, to the country, to sort itself out. Not so that Polisi Tugwana should become provincial chair, but so that the ANC plays a role that is expected of it by the people, This thing to which the ANC has always been committed from its foundation, to serve the people of South Africa. And that's all it needs to do, is to serve the people of South Africa. We must bring the ANC back to do that. Here is this province where the ANC was founded. This matter was mentioned by the coordinator and the convener. Surely we must be able to say, as this province, we are very, very proud that this organization was established here. And we take that as a challenge to us in the Free State to say, we can't allow it to die. We must be the first ones to make sure that the ANC lives, and a renewed ANC lives. I'm saying this province, I think, has got a responsibility to take that kind of position and live up to it. From what I've heard in the last 3 days, many challenges remain. Some of them mentioned this afternoon by our colleagues who came about. Old factions are continuing, all sorts of things, the matters that were pointed out. But our task is to succeed. Our task is to succeed. So, to our colleagues who only came this afternoon, I made a commitment to say that as this delegation of migrants from Johannesburg, we are very determined, as the leadership of the province wants, very, very determined to come and work with the province so that we achieve these objectives. It is possible. It is perfectly possible. Particularly because of the problems it has experienced, the ANC here. It is perfectly possible for this province, for the ANC in this province, to lead the rest of the ANC in achieving this renewal, and therefore bringing the ANC back to where it was, where it ought to be. Solely, simply a servant of the people of South Africa and nothing else. Can be done and must be done. Thanks a lot.